Hi, it's Mo and welcome back to the property vlog. This week a very special vlog all about the B word. All eyes are on Rishi Sunak this week to deliver a bounce back budget that delivers not only support to the UK economy now, coming out the back of the coronavirus pandemic, but also that finds a way to be able to pay for the economic life support that the government's provided over the past year. So here are my top 10 things you need to know from a property and business point of view from Budget 2021. In at number 10 are changes to the Coronavirus Self-Employed Income Support Scheme, or SEISS. These changes included extending the scheme to September this year and also broadening the scope of the people that could apply for the scheme, including an additional 600,000 people that weren't previously eligible because they are newly self-employed. The grants are for up to 80% of profits, up to a maximum of £7,500 over 3 months. And the new scheme is only if you can prove that you've had a more than 30% drop in revenue. If your income's fallen less than that, you can apply for a scheme up to 30% of profits, and that's capped at £2,850. So my thoughts on this, I think the SEISS has been a great scheme for self-employed people. There are still a number of people that have been excluded from the self-employed scheme, particularly those that pay themselves through salary and dividends. The government's argument is that there is other support available for people that pay themselves salary, so you can furlough yourself if you're a director of a company. There's also other support for businesses like business grants and bounce back loans and C-bills and things like that. So it doesn't include everyone, but I think it's broadened now, an extra 600,000 people. So I think this is a really good move. In at number 9 is the extension to the furlough scheme. So the furlough scheme, or the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme as it's formally known, has now been extended to the end of September. And the government will ask for employers to contribute 10% of unworked hours from July and 20% for August and September. My thoughts on this: I think the furlough scheme has been absolutely brilliant to support businesses and support people's jobs. We've used it ourselves in Moorview and KHP to support roles that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to keep during the pandemic, so that's been really good. And I think although it's been expensive, it's a good way to keep money flowing through the economy, keep money going to people, which they can then use to keep other areas of the economy going. So overall, I think furlough has been great, and it's good to see that it's still being extended. At number 8 is the business rates holiday extension and the continued cut to VAT for hospitality. For business rates, this means further exemptions till June this year, and then a further 6 months where rates will be discounted to a third of their normal rates for closed businesses. The VAT discount for food and drinks sold in pubs will be extended until the end of September this year. After that, it will increase to 12.5%. My thoughts on this: I think both of these measures are great. I think it's really targeted for industries that have been hardest hit by the pandemic, and I think these industries, there's still going to be elements of social distancing, additional cleaning in place and things like that for months to come. So they're not going to get back up to capacity anytime soon, although I'm sure they'll be busy when everything reopens. But I think this is a really good move and really targeted support. In at number 7 are the freezes to capital gains tax and income tax. Now this comes under the banner of how are we going to pay for all of the support over the last year. Essentially, the Conservatives in the last manifesto said they wouldn't raise the rates of income tax, VAT or national insurance. So this is just another way that they can raise revenue from those things without actually changing the headline rates, which they committed not to do. So usually the bands at which you pay higher levels of tax rise in line with inflation. What this is doing is freezing those bands. So over the next few years, more and more people will be caught in higher bands. And this is something known as fiscal drag. And this is expected to raise an additional £8 billion per year by 2025. And my thoughts on this, obviously no one likes tax rises, but I do think that signposting that this is coming down the track is better than having tax increases now. And I think for business owners, for property investors and property developers, the time is now to get your tax planning in place. In at number 6 is the recovery loan scheme. So to support businesses, the government's going to guarantee 80% of loans. so that lenders have more confidence in lending to businesses coming out of the back of the pandemic. And this will be for term loans, overdrafts, invoice financing and asset financing up to £10 million. Again, I think this is a great support for business. I think it's really good to put the money into loans as well as grant. I think the loans, especially the bounce back loans and the CBILS, have been really important for keeping businesses going, and I think extending that support through this scheme is fantastic. In at number 5 are the introduction of new free ports. So there are going to be 8 new free ports in the UK, and one of those is actually going to be in Plymouth, which is the home of KHP Group and Moorview Property. So we're very excited about that. Essentially, goods that arrive into free ports aren't taxed unless they're then moved to other parts of the UK. There are also other incentives for businesses that are operating in the free ports. And obviously from our point of view, I think this is a great thing for Plymouth. So really excited to see this come in and see the boost to local jobs and to the economy. Okay, at number 4 is the corporation tax changes. So another way that we're going to begin to pay back some of this money that we've used during the coronavirus pandemic is through corporation tax rises. In 2023, the corporation tax rate is going to rise to 25%. There will be a small profits rate for businesses that have profits of less than £50,000, and they will continue to pay 19%. The Chancellor said this would apply to around 70% of businesses, or about 1.4 million businesses. Even at 25%, the UK will still have the lowest corporation tax rate in the G7. From my point of view, obviously no tax rises are welcome. However, I think taxing profits is a better way than raising taxes on things that are more linked to turnover, like VAT or like employers' national insurance. Those are quite punitive, whereas I think this is tax on profits. You got the small business rates, which is good, and a lot of businesses will be caught in that, and then the larger companies will pay the higher rate. So there will be the usual uproar around companies moving abroad, and no doubt some companies will, but I think actually this will be a really good move to bring some more money in. And number 3 is the first time buyer deposit guarantee scheme. So the Chancellor confirmed that a government guarantee means first-time buyers will be able to put down a 5% deposit and be able to access a wider range of products at 95% loan to value. And this will be for properties up to £600,000. From my point of view, obviously as a property developer, I think this is a great move and will also help a lot of people get onto the property ladder. As a nation, we are still obsessed with home ownership, and it doesn't look like that is changing anytime soon. I think you've got government incentives, you've got banker mum and dad, and you've got the baby boomer generation that are historically very proud of their home ownership, telling their children that, you know, when are you going to get a house and get on the property ladder. So I can't see it changing anytime soon, and the government is definitely supporting people where they can to get on the property ladder. So it doesn't look like the obsession with home ownership is going to change anytime soon. In at number 2 is the stamp duty land tax changes from July until September, where the threshold is going to move from £125,000 to £250,000. And in at number 1 is the extension of the stamp duty land tax holiday on homes up to £500,000 until the end of June this year. From my point of view, obviously, I think this is a great move. I think the stamp duty land tax holiday has really helped the housing market over the past year, and has prevented what otherwise would have been potentially a bit of a disaster. And I think it's helped maintain housing prices and transaction levels over the last year. Critics will usually point out that the stamp duty land tax support and things like the first time buyer deposit guarantee scheme, all they do is they add to house prices, and actually none of the benefit feeds through to the end consumer. I think in some cases that is definitely true. I think it depends where you are regionally as well. But I think really that is driven by the basic supply and demand and the lack of supply of housing, and you know how far we've fallen short of the housing targets over the last few years. That's actually fundamentally changed the supply and demand pressure on house prices. So I think things like continued changes to the planning system, unlocking empty and vacant buildings, and also making access to finance easier and cheaper will help actually provide more housing supply, which will help address the sort of ever-increasing house prices. So overall, I think the budget was actually pretty bang on. It's obviously a very difficult time for the Chancellor to support the economy now, but also lay a roadmap out for how some of this stuff is going to be paid for. So I actually think he's done quite a good job. Obviously there are a number of property and business measures in there that have supported property developers and businesses, so that's probably won me over a little bit, and if you're in a different industry maybe you don't feel the same way. But I think really the objective of supporting now but signposting that tax changes are coming down the track is actually a really good strategy. So let me know your thoughts on budget 2021. Please remember to hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time for a video with some very exciting news in.